Formula One was off for a couple of weekends, but there's been so much news from the Formula One world that we've got Ludo Van Denderen for GPBlog to talk through everything just before the Belgian Grand Prix. And Ludo, we've got a lot to get through because big changes. We've lost Christian Horner from the Formula One paddock. This is seismic. He's been at the team at Red Bull, or was at Red Bull, since the inception. And now we're going into a world where he's not even going to be in the paddock. What's been the reaction so far on the media day to Mr. Horner not being there?
Yeah, it's a little bit strange, of course. 21 years almost. Christian Horner is going to miss a Grand Prix for the first times, and he's not here. And still, people talk about him. He's the most spoken guy in the paddock. There were a lot of questions, of course, to all the Red Bull drivers and the ex-Red Bull drivers about what do you think? Are you surprised? Almost everybody said, well, I was very surprised that he's leaving. A lot of them also paid tribute to Christian Horner, like Alex Albon, because he helped him in his career. A lot of people are surprised.
Let's talk about Max Verstappen specifically. There's been so much with Max and Horner, speculation about Joss's involvement and Helmut Marko. It's been a civil war, it seemed, from the outside. I don't think we'll ever get the full truth of what happened inside, maybe when a book or two come out in 20 years or so. But at the moment, let's focus on the world champion. And what is Max's reaction to all this? Because Christian Horner is, of course, the person that got him his shot in Formula One all those years ago.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. You have to imagine these press moments are in the hospitalities of the teams. Some teams only have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 journalists around. When we went to Red Bull this afternoon, it was totally packed. It was so full. I think there were like 80 to 90 journalists. You can hardly hear anything because it was so loud and crowded. Max was there, and he talked about Christian Horner. Of course, the first question was you surprised? And he didn't really answer that. He was just very, quietly. I have the idea that he's okay with it. He said, I'm looking forward to the future. Christian is still family, but these things happen, and I want to work on getting the car better. Something very interesting he said, by the way, is that doesn't mean that my future will be here at Red Bull. This is totally separated from this. So that was the first time that he talked about perhaps doing something else. Yeah, but still, Horner. Almost all the questions are about Horner today with Max.
Well, Max might be enjoying the break from questions about his future, but it sounds like he's the one trying to talk about his future at last. But we'll come on to that because we have a lot of future speculation after certain illicit meetings going on in the past couple of weekends. But I just want to focus now on the other reaction, because Max is, of course, one driver. You've already mentioned Alex Albon, and almost half the grid have some involvement with Christian Horner and Red Bull to get them to the grid. What has been everyone else's reaction to Horner's dismissal?
Yeah, one interesting one was the one from Oscar Piastri. He doesn't have a past with Red Bull, but he said, well, I was kind of surprised that he heard it also in the news. And he also stated that it's so good that his team is quiet and stable. And that was, in his case, one of the reasons that McLaren is having such a big success. And when he says something, then of course he means Red Bull Racing, where it's internal chaos. So that was a striking quote from Oscar Piastri. And on the other hand, what I said, some people didn't want to talk about it. Most said, well, we'll see probably Horner again, and he will be missed for the moment.
A fighting talk from Piastri. That seems unusual for him, but maybe a bit of mental games going on from the Australian. I'd love to go into what happened in the British Grand Prix and the reaction for that, but I feel like that's always forgotten with everything going on, because of course the thing I was alluding to earlier was speculation about two major players in Formula One, Toto Wolff and Max Verstappen, meeting together. What has Max said about his future? You told us already that he has opened up on the possibility that he might be looking to leave Red Bull at some point.
Yeah, of course, there were the questions also about him in Italy meeting with Toto Wolff on a boat. Max said it was total coincidence. I was not meeting Toto Wolff. I just was on my vacation with my friends and my family. And it's possible that two people can be on the same island at the same time. On the other hand, everybody knows that he's still thinking about a future elsewhere or at Red Bull. And what I said before, it's the first time that he actually said that he's thinking about a future. But still, people think that, and I think also that he's not gonna leave Red Bull Racing, and that within weeks we'll have an announcement that he'll stay.
The other side of this Toto Wolff and Max Verstappen discussion about their future, whether Max is going to join, not join in 2027 or whatever. George Russell's situation, he's been doing as best as he can, but questions still dog his future at Mercedes while this Verstappen flirting is going on. What's Russell's take on his future?
Well, Russell had a press moment and that took for 10 minutes, and all 10 minutes were about his future. He's still believing that he's going to stay at Mercedes. He also heard, of course, that Toto Wolff had an interview last week with the Austrian TV, where he said that probably Kimi and George will be the driver pairing for next year. So Russell is not worried. He knows that Max is perhaps a possibility, but he thinks as long as I keep performing, I will be in the car. This is one of my best seasons, so it's all about me.
Time will tell, George. Time will tell. And finally, we're talking about George Russell. And in the past, George Russell did exceptionally well here on a qualifying run in a very underpowered Williams in a very wet weekend. The forecast for this weekend, we never know. It's Spa, but Ludo, it looks like it might be a bit of a wet one.
Yeah, exactly. Today we had already a little bit of rain. You perhaps can see outside that it's still dry now, but the forecast is that tomorrow and on Sunday it will rain, probably rain dry, like it's always here in Spa, and that could be a very exciting race. And don't forget, there's also a sprint race on Saturday. So tomorrow is already qualifying for the sprint race, and that could be in the wet. So it could shaken up everything.
Well, I hope it doesn't give us a red flag we had a few years ago and more of the British Grand Prix we had just last time out. These wet races, of course, always end up giving so much drama. Ludo, you're going to be there all weekend. Whatever drama does unfold in both races of the sprint race that you correctly mentioned and sprint qualifying tomorrow, we'll go through it all with you. Thank you so far for everything you've given us, and thank you everybody else for watching.